I've also learned some things today. It's funny, we were talking about how my dad may have been a man of few words, and I realize now why, as he couldn't get a word in edgewise. How much time as they spent talking. So, if there isn't any family resemblance of who I might be, I'm the oldest son of my dad. I'm going to try and make sure I stick to the script here, because if you guys haven't noticed, the Higson clan is a bunch of ugly criers. We're supposed to be big, tough hockey players, and we've got a lot of stories about that, but at the end of the day, we're just a bunch of criers that eat donuts. The love and support I've seen here for my dad, my mom, my brothers, my sisters-in-laws, and the grandchildren is truly magical. I'd like to take a second and thank Pomerado Christian Church, Pastor Evan, and everybody else who helped make this day a celebration of my father's life. I'd like to also thank everyone who came from out of town, in the Canadian homeland. I might know my dad's heart's always going to be in Canada, even if his toes are in the beach here in California. Talked a lot about, the characteristics of who my dad was and always will be. And the irony of an event like something today is that I think he'd be most disappointed in himself that he took time away from all of you on a Sunday. So, over the past few weeks, I've had time to reflect on what my father taught me and numerous others. When he passed, I had a number of people call me and tell me stories about my dad that I didn't know, and the advice that they had received from him. Countless people told me about the caring, selfless man my father is. People recognized what a great family man and a great father, and what a family man and what a family he had grown. A loving wife, 4 great sons, sisters-in-law, and grandchildren. I don't know who these 4 great sons are, but if I meet them someday, I'll tell them that he thought highly of them. He was the epitome of a family man, always doing what was best for the family, no matter what the cost to him may be. Maybe sometimes too much. He had an opportunity to move for a better job in the United States. He said, sure, let's go. Even that meant that he would have to spend every single week driving back and forth to Syracuse and then back to Canada until he could get us all to move. And then he had another opportunity to come to San Diego for an even better job to help support the family. I'll be honest on that one, I don't know if that one was about the family, or it might have been the fact that he liked to be a boat captain. There were some bikinis here in January. I remember him telling the story about how they got him to sign up, and I think they took him to one of his favorite restaurants, I don't know if it's there anymore, called the Green Flash, down in Pacific Beach. And I remember having this conversation with him a number of years after we had lived here in San Diego, and I said, what made you make the change? And the guys at MedTrans, I guess, had taken him to lunch there. And it was January, and we at the time were living in Buffalo. And if you guys have ever spent any time in a January winter in Buffalo, it's not anywhere you want to be. And I think he said, I was sitting there enjoying lunch, and a nice young lady walked by wearing what he called a bikini, but he wasn't sure if it was really enough fabric to call it a bikini. And I think that was the time he said, where do I sign? My dad would always get up way too early just to make sure that all of his sons got the hockey practice. He would sacrifice his free time so we could enjoy ours. Even when we grumble at 4 a.m. when he'd get us up to go to a hockey game. We really were taught what it is to be a person with greater purpose other than yourself. That was my father. When we take family vacations, there was almost undoubtedly a time when my mother would want to go shopping. Without fail. So it would always start with, well, I just need to get a little something for so-and-so. She was being very thoughtful about bringing something back from wherever we were at, and that would turn into about an 8.5-hour extravaganza. With numerous packages, and at that point we realized we were just donkeys to carry all of the cash and prizes that my mother wanted to take home. But what it really taught us is that, you know, Dad, say you're part of the family and we're going to go do this for your mom. And you just start to realize that you do things for family that maybe at the time seem very inconvenienced to you, but are important in the long term. My dad was always happiest around family. I remember our times at the lake on our boat, and as a teenager, I know I would always grumble and say I didn't want to go on the boat for whatever silly reason was that day, but every time I went, I always had a great time. Talked about playing football. We'd play football on the water for hours. We'd eat barbecue. We'd get an irresponsible amount of sun for a Canadian. Our dad would teach us about boating. Say, son, this is starboard, this is port. He would coach us as he basically would lean back on his chair and he'd be steering the boat with his foot. And then our mother would remind us of who got a perfect score on the boating certification test, and it wasn't my dad. You go down on the boat, there was the two certificates were hanging there. And one, I don't remember what my dad's score was, but yours was the 100. I know I didn't realize as much through my younger life as what the teachings were now that I'm the ripe old age of 40. It's had a profound impact on me as an adult, a father, a friend, a businessman, a partner. My uncles had talked about when my dad would come up and say, I love you, and give you a kiss on the cheek. I think he'd give you advice that would say, if you see somebody needs a hug, give them one. And if they didn't understand the first hug, then give them another one. One of his other sayings was, don't ever go to bed angry. I say these things now because I believe that's what he would say. There will come a day when you only have prayer. So relish your choices. Like I said, ugly criers. My father helped make me the man I am today, good and bad, far better than worse. I don't miss him terribly. But I know so much of him lives on in me, knows around me. The people that loved him. And if you don't remember anything about what I said today, just remember this one thing. Someone stole my thunder earlier. There are no bones in ice cream. I love you, Dad.